So this is the first episode of the KingKasch Show, and as I said before, this will obviously be the name of it until I come up with something a little bit more clever. But yeah, so we're gonna start in the middle of the prelims with Joseph Benavidez, who's number 2 at flyweight, and Askarov, Bullet. These guys fight at 125. Benavidez is challenged for the title, at flyweight title now. I want to say 3 times. Maybe 4. He's always so close, but he just always ends up falling a little short. The title fight has been announced for that weight class. They're going to run back Brandon Moreno and Davidson Figueiredo, which was a great fight. Both guys took it on short notice. I think they fought with like 14 days rest or some crazy shit. So shout out to both of those guys. This division's starting to catch fire, which is awesome. But this is number 2 and number 3, right? So the good thing with this, it's on the prelim. So if you have ESPN Plus, you can actually watch this one for free. The winner of this, I'm assuming, would get the next title shot, which is pretty awesome. So to get this one for free is pretty sick. I like Benavidez, man, but Askarov's, dude, these wrestlers coming from Russia, there's some badasses, man. There are some badasses. Hot girlfriend or wife who wears leather pants. Megan O'Leary, true. Love me some Megan O'Leary, man. She's awesome. Guys are obviously, leg reach same size, hand reach. The Bullet's got 2 inches on them, which is a beautiful thing. Yeah, you're thinking of the right person, bro. A little bit of a height advantage and everything. 12-0. So this guy has a perfect record right now. You got to assume if he beats Benavidez, he will challenge for the title next after Moreno and Figueiredo. So I'm really curious about this one. I want to see, because I think if either one of these guys can come out and do something special, or win in a dominating fashion or an exciting fashion, it really breathes a lot of extra life into the 125 division, which was dead for a little while. Mighty Mouse reigned supreme over that weight class for so long and cleaned the division out, where we weren't really too excited about watching the fights because he looked invincible. It wasn't until Henry Cejudo beat him in a very, very close rematch, after DJ had stopped Cejudo once in their first fight. And then Cejudo obviously did his thing and then went up to 35, won that title as well, and went on, the historic run that he went on as a dual champion. So with this weight class now turned over, the Mighty Mouse and Cejudo era is over. Figueiredo looks like a motherfucker. But Moreno gave him a lot of good work that first fight. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens at 25. And I'm going to go with the Bullet on this one. I love Benavidez, but he's been in some wars. He's taken some really bad knockouts. I think he's definitely on the back half of his career. I love him. I would love for him to get a win, but I honestly don't see him beating either of the 2 guys in the title fight. So I'd really like to see Askarov get in there and see what he can do, and see a little bit of a mix-up in this 125 weight class. Obviously, there's TJ Dillashaw's coming back. He had, he was originally slated to go down to 125 at one point. Cody Garbrandt was scheduled to go down to 125 at one point. So there's some options there. And I think there's always the opportunity of a guy like Davison stepping up to 135, because he does cut a lot of weight to get down to 125. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works out. Sinister, how you doing tonight, brother? Thank you for stopping in, man. So we'll go to the next card on the next fight on the prelims that we're looking forward to. This one's going to be at 135 bantamweight. So Song Yadong and Kyler Phillips. I'm going to go with Song Yadong in this, and simply because of his name. You can't have a cooler last name than Yadong. I do want to say China has really broken through into the sport of MMA and the UFC. Zhang Weili is currently the women's champion at 115. Shout out to her. She's doing big things. But I love seeing all of the talent from China finally bleeding into into the sport, because there wasn't a large representation for a long time, and now that they have a champion and they've done a couple fight cards over there, you got to imagine some of these guys and girls are looking at these opportunities, and they're going to really show out and try to do their best. I like this fight. Obviously Kyler has quite a reach advantage. Song looks like he is in ridiculous shape compared to Phillips, but we've seen guys without the best bodies fight very well in the UFC. It's about a lot of technique. This one should be good, man. This one should be real good. This card's real loaded, from the middle of this prelim to the entire pay-per-view card. It's going to be a banger. So if you're, like I said before, if you're new to the sport, definitely start checking. This is a great card to start out with. Bodies are overrated. True. Song hasn't lost in 5 years. Also true. When you look at guys, though, like I look at some of these guys that have done historic runs, right? Like Renan Barão at 135. I think he went like 9 years without a loss before he lost to TJ. I was actually live for that fight. It was fucking crazy. I love this weight class. This weight class is extremely deep. Yadong has great skill. And that should show you how deep the weight class is. You have guys, obviously the top 8 guys in this division. It's loaded, right? And we're going to even touch on some more of that after this one. And then, you still have guys like the Sugar Show, who's, he's obviously going to make his way back into it. Jose Aldo has come down to 135, left his featherweight division. You still have Marlon Moraes, who he was the hottest thing going for a little bit until he finally lost, and it's been, the division's just been hectic ever since. Cody No Love came back, had that gigantic knockout against Rafael Assunção, who's a bad motherfucker. This weight class is on fire, and they are deep. And I love to see it, but I'm going to go with Yadong on this one. And hopefully he comes in and shows out, man, because I know that when they do that the next card in China, obviously once some of the COVID restrictions get lifted up, having him on a card with Wang, Zhe Li, and a bunch of other Chinese talent, it's going to be awesome. So look out for this one as well. The next one, man, this is, Dominick Cruz, the Dominator, if you know anything about the fight game. A lot of people think he's the GOAT of 135. He's had some unfortunate injuries, some real tough ones, but Dominick Cruz is a master of movement, elusive, cardio for days. This one's going to be a banger, man. He held the title for a long time, and Casey Kenny is a guy that is just scorching people right now. You know what I mean? He is as hot as they get for an unranked fighter at this weight class. So this one's going to be interesting. I'm going to go with Dom on this one, just based off experience, preparation, stuff like that. I think Dom just has that world-class mentality. He's obviously lost a couple, lost one to Cejudo. Some argument over that one because he said Keith Peterson smelled like cigarettes and booze. Stopped the fight early, but he was getting his legs chopped up pretty good. He got dinged a few times. But I thought it was a bad stoppage myself. I thought Cruz had his wits about him. I do think he was getting to the point where it was, if it kept going the way it was going, there was going to be a finish. But with someone the talent of Cruz, I think you really need to give him the benefit of the doubt and allow him to go out on a shield type of thing. You know what I mean? So, I know some people don't like Dom because of how he talks and what he says and stuff like that. But I got nothing but respect for the guy. All the years in the sport that he's had, the injuries that he's had, to come back after those long layoffs, beat world-class talent time and time again. He's always a pleasure to watch. So I'll be looking forward to this one as well. But don't count Casey Kenny out. This dude is a bad motherfucker. And sometimes when opportunity arises and these guys, you know, they get their shot at a big name, somebody like Dom Cruz, you're closing the prelims, you're the last fight before the pay-per-view card. You know, this is one of these opportunities where this guy can absolutely give himself a massive push in the division, become a star overnight if he's able to beat a guy like Dom, especially with, you know, a finish. Obviously, Dom doesn't get finished often. So this is something that I'll be looking forward to see, because like I said, this 35 division is deep as fuck. And I'm very curious to see what happens after some of these fights, because they got a couple real good ones coming up. Obviously, one of the title fights on this card is in this weight class. So a lot of 135 ranked action. So I'm curious to see what happens. We'll go over the main card now, starting with the first fight, which is going to be a banger. These are two big boys. Thiago Santos, man, he fought John Jones. Looked good too. You know, he had his ACL, MCL, and something out. Just blew out in the first round against a guy like John, who's done it all, seen it all, and went to a decision with him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy, especially when you're wounded like that. You know, you're in a 5-round fight, and in the first round you lose your ACL and MCL. The rest of the fight's gonna be fucking torture. He's ranked number 2 right now. And then you got Alexander Rakic, and this dude is a fucking machine, man. I have to think that whoever wins this fight is right in line for the next title shot. You got to think Dom just got knocked out by Jan Blockovich, who he's in the main event of this fight card. I personally think if Rakic can go out there, get a finish against a guy like Thiago Santos, he's next up for the strap. But I think vice versa. If Santos were to win, I think he's next up. You know, I'm not sure if Izzy wins. If he wins, I'm not sure if he sticks around 205. I'm not sure if he just talks shit to John Jones and goes back to 85. Maybe he does defend it. You know, we'll see. You know, this one's got some serious implications to it. Both these guys throw fucking missiles. So I'm very, very curious to see how this one plays out. I'm going to go with Rakic in this one. There's something about this dude that just scares the ever-loving shit out of me for this division. The Kaikara fight on the prelim should be good too. Interested in seeing how Bontorin looks after the ankle injury. Dude, I'm going to tell you, top to bottom, this is one of those cards that is just massive. All the fights have potential to be amazing. You know, there's not a lot of guys that go to decision, not a lot of girls that go to decision on this this card. So we should be hopefully primed for a lot of finishes, a lot of really good action, a lot of aggressive fighters. You know, this is going to be a banger. And start with this pay-per-view, you don't get much bigger than these guys. You know, they fight in the second biggest weight class. They're both big dudes with a lot of reach to throw heat. So I'm really thinking that this one does not go the full 3 rounds. My guess is it's going to end in the second round. I think Rakic's just going to end up catching Santos, but I do love Santos, man. I wouldn't mind if he does win, but if I had to put money on it, I'm going to go with Rakic. I think he's next up in that division. He wins this fight, he earns himself a title shot against whoever. My guess is if Izzy wins and vacates the title or loses, my guess is either way, Blockovich will fight Rakic, and we'll go from there. But you never know. John Jones may decide if Izzy wins to come on back down and defend his throne that he's held for his entire career. So we'll see how that pans out. Next up, the last fight before the title fights, Islam Makhachev and Drew Dober. Makhachev, apparently, in a lot of people's opinion, including Khabib's, is next up in this weight class. He's nasty, man. He's relentless. He's got good size for that weight class, 5'10", He's got a good leg reach, 40.5 leg reach. So he's got a 5.5 inch leg reach on Dober. We know what the calf kicks are doing in the sport right now. Not that Islam's one to throw a lot of kicks, but this dude's a badass on the ground. Dober, man, Dober's a tough guy. He's strong. He's got a bright future in the sport for sure. Continuing to go. I do think that Islam takes this. He's, I think with Khabib out of the way, there's going to be a lot more focus on Islam to start rising to the top of this division. It is a very, very deep and dangerous division. The entire top 10 is just filled with murderers. So, who knows? Who knows what happens? Personally, I'm going to go with Islam on this, but I do think Dober looks good. I think he eventually, ends up back in the top 15 and kind of makes a run. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys end up meeting up somewhere down the road a little bit too. But yeah, I'm sticking with Islam on this one. We'll see how this one goes. But I think because they're in Vegas, the smaller cage, Islam's just relentless pressure in wrestling. I'm going to end up just sticking with him. And, we'll see how this one plays out. I don't expect a ton of fireworks in this one. I think this is going to be more of like a technical fight, a wrestling kind of grind fight, a lot of cage work, clinch work, wrestling, submissions. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm very curious to see what happens if Dober can just keep it up on the feet and turn it into a striking match and kind of see what happens. Our first title fight of the night. Man, this one's been a long, long time coming. I can't say long. These guys were scheduled to fight. Petr Yan is the current bantamweight champion, 135 again, 15-1. He's a very, very good striker. He's beaten Aldo, which obviously is never an easy task whenever you're talking about somebody like Aldo, one of the greatest to ever do it in the sport. Reach advantage, leg reach advantage, wrestling advantage, cardio advantage, all that goes to Aljo, in my opinion. I'm a big Aljamain Sterling fan. Not that I'm a Petr Yan hater, but I've always been a fan of Aljo. He's a New York kid. He wrestled at a college, not too far away from where I live. He's a humble dude, very cool. Still trains in New York. He, in my opinion, his last outing against Corey Sandhagen, who, if you pay attention to Sandhagen's last 2 wins have been nothing short of spectacular. Aljo choked him out in like the first couple minutes, in spectacular fashion. The key to this one, in my opinion, Petr Yan cannot back up. If he starts backing up, and it's, again, I think Aljo favors a little bit of them being in a smaller cage because of his wrestling ability. If he can cut Petr Yan off, he's going to probably just back him up against the cage, get in the clinch, land a takedown, start putting the work in. And I don't foresee Petr Yan being able to deal with Aljo's wrestling. Aljo can strike. I think Petr is a little bit of he's more polished on the feet, in my opinion. Not that Aljo's bad, but Aljo has a large discrepancy in wrestling, in my opinion. We have seen, not that Jan's gassed before, but we do see him slow down a little bit in fights, and Aljo will go 10 rounds if you let him. The guy can go all day long, and I think his pressure, his wrestling, all that, I think he's going to present a lot of problems for Petr. And, I honestly, I hope Aljo wins. And after that, rumors right now are they're trying to set up Corey Sandhagen and the return of TJ Dillashaw after serving his suspension for performance-enhancing drugs. I think he did 2 years. So they're looking to set that up. I'm assuming winner of that will fight the winner of this. Sandhagen, like I said, took that loss to Aljo, so it'd be cool to see that rematch after, if Sandhagen does win that fight, that's 3 straight fights against top 5 guys. It would be interesting to see him get back. TJ Dillashaw, they used to nickname him Killashaw. The dude was an absolute fucking nightmare to deal with. It was a shame that he was taking PEDs because that's obviously going to tarnish his reputation and his legacy. So I'm very curious to see how he looks after all of this, because I think a lot goes into it, not just physically, but also mentally. I think sometimes when you're taking a performance-enhancing drug, mentally, that you have something that the other person doesn't have. So I'm very curious to see how he looks. They did used to train together. Sandhagen's a bad motherfucker. Supposedly, Sandhagen used to give TJ work in training camp. So I'm very, very curious to see what happens with these top guys in this division, because you still have some nightmares waiting in the wings. Obviously Cody No Love back in a big way. Very, very curious to see what happens, but I'm going to go Aljo here. I'm pulling for my boy Funk Master. Hopefully I would love to see some gold come to New York. Then hopefully once this pandemic lifts, hopefully he can get on a card defending that belt at MSG. We can get Shane on that card too, and get some good shit in. The next fight, Megan Anderson. She's big, man. She's 6 feet tall. She's a large woman. She fights at 145. Big reach, 3-inch reach advantage, 2-inch leg reach advantage. Out of Australia, she's tough. We've seen her in some tough fights. We've seen her take some shots. She's been in danger. She's tough. She's a very tough fighter. Very skilled. She's confident coming into this fight. She thinks, as most people do, you think you're going to be the one to knock off the champ. Unfortunately for her, the champ just happens to be the greatest of all time. Amanda Nunes is the motherfucker of all motherfuckers in women's MMA. She's beaten them all. She's seen them all. She's dominated all of them. She's a 2 weight class world champion. She resides at the bantamweight and women's featherweight dual titles, man. You don't do that shit without being a badass, right? And what's impressive to me is she's simultaneously defending both of them at the same time. So she will defend the 35 belt, then jump up to 45, defend that belt, go back down to 35, defend that belt, jump back up to 45. If you know anything about women's MMA, she's beaten Holly Holm, who was notorious for being the first person to beat Ronda Rousey. She beat the shit out of Ronda Rousey when Rousey tried to make her return. She knocked out Cyborg, who most people thought was Ronda's kryptonite. Turns out Amanda Nunes is everyone's kryptonite. She's beaten Valentina Shevchenko, who's the women's flyweight champion at 125. So she literally has beaten and seen them all, finished most of them, knocks out Cyborg. She cleaned Ronda the fuck out. She's got unreal pressure. She hits like a fucking Mack truck. Her technique is beautiful. Her ground game is amazing. She has great submissions, black belt in jiu-jitsu. She's a bad motherfucker, man. And what people used to say about her was that her cardio was her biggest weakness. And in her last fight, she went 5 rounds just smashing. I think it was Spencer was the girl's last name. I don't know. The girl literally took 25 minutes of getting beat the fuck down by Amanda. I personally don't see Amanda losing. The Vegas odds are absurdly in her favor. If you've got $20 to waste, throw that shit on Megan Anderson, because if she wins, you got yourself a fat ass payday. I think the last time I looked, Nunes was like a 1,200 favorite, which is insane, but she is that good that I think most people just don't ever see her losing. They see her essentially just giving up the belts whenever she decides to be done. Her and her wife have, after her last fight, they welcomed their first child into the world. So she's going to be very motivated. She's going to be firing on all cylinders. And I expect the women's GOAT, and in my opinion, pound for pound, one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen, to get it done against Megan Anderson. No disrespect, but Megan, in my opinion, she just doesn't have the same experience level that a fighter like Amanda has. Amanda's had so many 5-round fights, so many championship caliber fights against top level people. I think her experience and her fight IQ just carry her through this, even despite the size discrepancy. She may go out there and make this look light. It might be a war. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I think Amanda gets it done. I think she gets it done with a finish. I don't think this goes to decision by any means. So that's going to bring us to our main event of the evening. Jan Blockovich, hashtag Polish Power. Rickster, thank you for the follow, brother. Appreciate you, dude. Love you. Man, 8-1 in his last 9 fights. He's got unreal one-shot knockout power, go to sleep type shit. He obviously is going to have a pretty big weight advantage on Izzy. He fights at 205, which means he cuts down to get to 205, which means by the time he eats and rehydrates from yesterday into tomorrow when the fight goes down, my guess will be he's going to be stepping into the cage around 235, maybe even 240. He's a big boy. But on the other hand, the last motherfucking style bender, Israel Adesanya, 20-0, 6'4", so he's taller. He's got a bigger reach, bigger leg reach. In my opinion, the most skilled and polished striker in all of mixed martial arts. Probably even ever at this point. The stuff that this man does on his feet is absurd. He's knocked out Paulo Costa. He's knocked out Robert Whittaker. He beat he fought Anderson Silva. He fought Yoel Romero. He knocked out Derek Brunson. He is accurate. He had a classic war. I don't know how I forgot. He had a classic war with Kelvin Gastelum to win the interim belt in order to go fight Bobby Bullets. So, Izzy, man, the key to this fight, in my opinion, Israel's got to keep his distance. Obviously, stay away from the right hand of Blockovich. He needs to keep it as clean as possible. For Jan, I think it is dirty boxing, cage work. Don't give Izzy the space. Don't let him kick. Izzy loves his leg kicks. He's gonna, I think, come out quick and start kicking the calf, trying to debilitate that leg and take some of the power away from Jan. Jan's body kicks, I mean, he knocked out Luke Rockhold with one shot that put Rockhold on another fucking planet. His last fight was against Dom Reyes, who he took John to a close 5-round finish. Some people actually thought that Reyes won that fight. It was a very, very close fight. Jan knocked him the fuck out. I think it was the second round. Just fucking mollywopped him. His body kicks will bruise you. They will hurt you. He chewed up Dom's ribs with like 4 kicks. Dom's ribs were all bruised, broken blood vessels. You saw it all over the place. Izzy's got to obviously respect the power and keep his distance. I honestly don't know who to pick in this fight. Izzy's a 200-point favorite. I have this strange feeling that Izzy's going to pull this off. There's something about this guy that seems mythical or magical. The way he moves, the way he doesn't get hit but returns dead-on accuracy shots. He's not a very big dude from like a muscle perspective is what people have always said. But due to his accuracy, his technique, his timing, he's knocking people out cold constantly. You know, he took Costa the fuck out. Whittaker, he just bombed, man. I mean, he chewed Whitaker the fuck up, and Whitaker was holding on to that belt for quite some time. Izzy just made it look easy. And when guys look that good in that technical striking, I don't know many people that are going to want to sit there and strike with them. My hope is that Izzy wins and that Jon Jones decides he wants to come back down to 205. I don't think that will happen. I don't think Izzy really wants to fight Jon. I think he wants to do this to take more digs at Jon, to fuck with Jon, just kind of say like, hey, I came to your weight class. I took the strap after you left. What are you going to do type of shit? But if you look at Jon right now, Jon is a big man. He is training for heavyweight. He's basically, not even basically, when Stipe and Francis Ngannou fight for the heavyweight title, the winners already said that they're going to be fighting Jon Jones. Dana White's said that's the fight. In a lot of people's opinion, including mine, Jon is the greatest to ever step foot in an octagon from a skill perspective. Not everybody, agrees with that, and that's fine. Some people argue Mighty Mouse. I think Mighty Mouse is right there from a skill perspective. I think I just put a little bit more respect on what Jon has done due to the names that Jon has demolished through his title reigns, through his title defenses. He's beaten, I don't know how many Hall of Famers on his way. 2 fights against Gus, one very close one that a lot of people felt that Jon lost. Won a close decision there. They run that back. He beats the fuck out of Gus the second time. He was much more focused for that fight. Beats DC twice. Obviously had a positive coke test in there. Had a couple other incidents happen throughout his career that's tarnished Jon's resume for a lot of people. But you can't deny the man's skill. He is as dangerous in that octagon as anybody else that we've ever seen. I would like to see it, man. I'd like to see Izzy and Jon, but I just don't think it'll ever happen. I'm gonna pick Izzy. It goes against my better judgment because I think Blockovich really only needs to land one punch on most people to change the entire dimension of the fight. The problem is hitting Izzy clean does not happen often. Kelvin did a pretty good job at it. He landed a lot of real good shots on Izzy. Shorter too, so he was eating shots to throw. Jan's a tough guy, but I think Izzy's technical approach is going to work in his favor. And what he does when people pressure him, the way he punishes them, I think Izzy can win. And I'll pick him to win, but it will